Woman on a city bus in Phoenix makes his first court appearance today.
Joshua Bagley is being held on $2 million bail, facing first-degree murder. Fox 10's Brian Webb live tonight with the details. Brian.
Well, Bagley is only 26 years old, but already has a long rap sheet, and there's no indication that he knew the victim. And court records show that he probably should have been in jail last week instead of riding a bus.
Joshua Bagley, 12/16, 1995. Thank you.
Joshua Bagley didn't say much to the judge, but the court paperwork reveals disturbing new details. Surveillance video from the bus shows Bagley and the victim, 41-year-old Diane Craig, were the only two passengers on the 27th Avenue and Baseline bus last Friday, both sitting toward the back. Police paperwork shows, for reasons still unknown, Bagley wrapped a bag around her neck, repeatedly twisting the strings tighter and tighter, and then pushes her to the floor and takes some of her belongings.
How can this happen? How did it happen? And then more importantly, how does it never happen again?
The bus driver said he heard some noise from the back, but didn't think much of it, and didn't discover Craig's body until after a bathroom break, and by then Bagley was long gone. But a tip led detectives to him on Tuesday, now with a shaved head, but still sporting the same face scratch seen on security video.
She lit everything up. You always knew Diane was there, and we're going to miss that.
Bagley was already wanted in Mojave County for allegedly stealing a car and had other recent warrants in Lake Havasu and Goodyear. But the Maricopa County Attorney's Office wanted more evidence before moving forward, and somehow Bagley slipped through the legal cracks and onto a city bus.
No duty to protect the public. Though often unsaid in police reform debates, numerous court precedents have established that cops aren't obligated to act in the interests of citizens. Last Wednesday, after a 24-hour search, a suspect was apprehended in the New York City Sunset Park subway shooting that injured at least 10 people. Amid the predictable gun control and police funding debates that have begun to roil across social media, it's fair to also ask, why wasn't the NYPD more effective in responding to the situation? After the shooting, the NYPD was faulted for not stopping the subway lines, having their radio and communications apparatuses malfunction, and exhibiting a plain lack of urgency, as The Intercept reported. Indeed, some speculated that the only reason they caught the suspect, Frank James, was because he made it really easy for them. He had lunch at Katz's Deli during the manhunt, before tipping off the police himself. This fits with a number of incidents where police have failed to protect the public. Yet, as the Prospect's Ryan Cooper wrote, they are routinely given more money after tragedies. The questions that get asked in the aftermath are limited. Do police lack the resources to prevent crimes, or did they make tactical or logistical errors that can be fixed with new leadership or more training? More from Ramenda Cyrus. All of these questions are situated in the traditional belief that police are there to proactively prevent and de-escalate dangerous situations. The average citizen has been convinced of this imagery of police as heroic and uniquely brave citizens, despite being debunked both by the actions of police forces and the courts themselves. Let us go back 11 years to February 2011, in the very same place, New York City. As he told in a Cracked.com video some 4 years ago, Joseph Lozito was on his morning commute through New York City when he hopped on the subway, blissfully unaware of a brutal stabbing spree, perpetuated by Maxine Gelman, that had been going on for over 24 hours at that point. Lozito would be the final victim in the stint. After Gelman boarded the train and confronted the police officers that were in a secure area, he turned to Lozito and said, "You're going to die." What transpired afterwards was what Lozito described as what every man thinks about at least twice a day. Lozito tackled Gelman and they struggled physically, with Gelman stabbing Lozito in the head until they both hit the ground and Lozito disarmed Gelman. Only then did the NYPD officers intervene to apprehend Gelman. In this case, one of the cops allegedly admitted that he did not intervene in the altercation because he thought Gelman had a gun, instead hiding from the attacker. This prompted Lozito to sue the city of New York. He lost the case in 2013, but not because the Manhattan Supreme Court judge didn't believe him, or because he lacked evidence, or because the cops had a good reason for not intervening. Lozito lost because of a precedent established by the U.S. Supreme Court. The cops do not have a duty to protect you, or anyone. In 2005, Jessica Gonzalez sued Castle Rock, Colorado police for failing to arrest her husband, who had violated a protective order, resulting in the murder of her 3 children. Her case went to the U.S. Supreme Court in the town of Castle Rock v. Gonzalez, where she lost because even though the order required arresting her husband upon violation, then Justice Antonin Scalia successfully argued that a well-established tradition of police discretion has long coexisted with apparently mandatory arrest statutes. This case builds upon Supreme Court precedent in Duchesne v. Winnebago County Department of Social Services, 1989. In that case, a young boy was repeatedly abused at the hands of his father, something that County Social Services was aware of, but made no effort to remove the child. His mother sued once the 4-year-old entered a vegetative state, and the court ruled that the state did not have a special obligation to protect a citizen against harms it did not create. Based on these precedents, Lozito was told in the New York City case that no direct promises of protection were made to him, and therefore he could not sue the police for failing to come to his aid. In other words, the police do not have to act if someone is actively being harmed, they do not have to arrest someone who has violated orders, and they do not have any obligation to protect you from others. People are still expected to call the police, and many still do, especially given the lack of alternatives. But to criticize their effectiveness in solving crimes in the aftermath furthers the propaganda. It assumes that the police are acting in the interest of the public, when there is no precedent that says that they have to. Police reform activists have posited that the purpose of policing is not to protect the public, but instead to maintain the status quo that keeps capitalism alive. The first modern-day police were slave catchers. Their only interest was your body for their profit. Whatever their true purpose, the legal fact remains that public benefits from policing are incidental, at best. Just a quick word from our sponsor.
Hi everyone, today I would like to talk about gun control. Is gun control the answer to reduce crime? No, I don't believe prohibiting gun access to the average New Yorker is going to stop crime in New York City, because as we all know, criminals will always have access to guns and other weapons, and unfortunately innocent people will always be harmed by people that are criminal minded. And I believe that these crimes are mostly orchestrated, not all but mostly. So definitely violence is not going anywhere. So gun control is not going to stop crime, in my opinion. It's only going to give criminals more of a reason to find other ways to be violent towards innocent people. So again, prohibiting gun access to the average New Yorker is not going to reduce crime. It clearly hasn't reduced crime because, again, criminals will always have access to weapons regardless of the political climate that we're in, and it's all by design, in my opinion. But again, that's a different topic for another show. Now, going back to this article, the Supreme Court is considering expanding the right to carry guns, and I think this is a great idea for the average New Yorker. Now, me speaking as a New York native who was born and raised and still lives in New York, I think this is very necessary that especially women, and me being a black woman, I think is even more of a reason why this bill should be considered, because I use public transportation to get around the city because it's much faster and it's cheaper than gas. And I believe that's why many New Yorkers use the trains and buses, because it's cheaper, and again, it's faster to get around. This train is faster to get around, but I'm noticing a lot of cases where women are getting attacked on trains, and on top of that, bystanders are recording it and not helping these women, and that's even more dangerous to me as a woman who actually uses the trains to get around. So this is definitely something that I'm hoping and praying gets passed, because again, with mass inflation and job layoffs, it seems like crime is only going to get worse. And me being a black woman, we're always affected the most, more than anybody, because we're always, for the most part, alone, and criminals take advantage of that, in my opinion. And on top of that, women in general are softer targets anyway. So yeah, because clearly being around people is not going to save a woman from getting attacked. Clearly, if all bystanders are doing is recording, not that I'm saying that bystanders are obligated to help women getting attacked. I'm just saying that women should have more safety options, because a woman cannot fight off a man, especially a man with a mental illness. That's even harder to do by herself or without a weapon. And clearly, cops are not obligated to help civilians like that, and clearly, and I believe that's actually true, because of what I've noticed especially as a black woman, how like the cops are, like, they're never available when they should be. So, well, let me not say that. They're available sometimes, but they're not always available. And being on a train, they're definitely not available, because they're not posted to be on the actual trains. Like, they may walk around the train stations, but they're not like on these trains, posted on these trains, and they're not going around, like going to each car in the train to observe what's going on. So that's not going to work either. So that's even more of a reason why there needs to be more safety options, because again, cops are not obligated to be our personal security guards. They're obligated to protect property, I guess, like the interests of their employers. That's what they're obligated to do, and the average New Yorker is not important enough, in my opinion. And me being a black woman, I'm especially not a priority to save. So this bill, I think, would be a great idea and a great option. Even though I know most New Yorkers are not going to carry guns, because a lot of us are against guns. Even though I think that's not good, because it's not the guns that's the problem. It's the crazy people and the criminal-minded people that are using these guns to be self-destructive is the problem. But the average civilian who wants to protect themselves should have that option to carry, and they're not harming anyone. So I definitely believe that this idea would be very helpful, especially for single women who are on these trains and having to travel to work and back home with no real protection, in my opinion. And again, the cops are like nobody in most instances. Not to be disrespectful to cops, because they have a hard job. It is hard being a police officer, but I'm saying, as a black woman, I don't put my faith in most police officers. So I definitely think that this is very necessary for New Yorkers to have the option to carry a concealed carry on places like the trains and going to work, because again, so many crazy things are going on, and and women are not getting protected. And me, like thinking about me per se, if I'm getting attacked, I already know I'm on my own automatically. So yeah, I think this is very needed for New Yorkers, New York, especially women who are easier targets than men. So please let me know what your thoughts are. And am I overthinking it or exaggerating? Even though I believe that my observation of things is pretty spot on, especially as a New Yorker who lived here most of my life. I know how the flow of things are. So I already know that it's going to get worse because there are homeless people on trains all the time, and this is nothing new. Again, this has been going on for years. But now that a lot of these people that are on these trains are also mentally ill, that makes it even more dangerous. Especially for women like myself. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what your thoughts are on this topic. Thank you.